Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Kate Jegede and I share information or knowledge based on what I have learned through my testing of ideas that are most popularly referred to as metaphysical, which ostensibly means the immeasurable. For some, this is a pretty radical group of concepts, but for me, it's what I like to call foundational knowledge. That's to say, an understanding of the world, the galaxies, the universes, and everything that exists being the product of some source that exists somewhere. And then there's the question of me, who I know myself to be, and how I fit in, and what I do with all of the information I've acquired. In other words, what is it all for? And so I'm really thrilled to be speaking to you today on my channel because I've moved from a rudimentary awareness of space and time and physicality and a rudimentary awareness of self to being aware of an aspect of myself as relates to the immeasurable, and on to an understanding of my relationship to other human beings, to other people just like me, to now being aware of a tangible relationship that exists with the source of all things I mentioned earlier. And what is exciting about this for me is that what I had previously thought of as infinite formless creative potential that I in some way gave physical expression to, I now see as a form and texture and personality and all of that. So those of you who are familiar with my content will know that I talk about what I call the spiritual language of emotion, which is the means by which I, as a normal human being, am enabled to communicate with the source. And if you are familiar with me, you know that the source for me is God. And so on the 1st of November 2020, is when I'm recording this, I now have a relationship with this source and I am fused with it. How this changes me going forward remains to be seen. What I will do with the remainder of my human life remains to be seen. But I am happy, and that is the theme of this upload. I choose happiness for the rest of my human life. Practically speaking, happiness, if you were able to achieve the state, would take care of everything. There would be no need for you to attempt to manifest anything ever again, because your happiness would be supported by a physical context made up of everything that makes you happy. I recently posted something on Instagram and I took it down again because it looked a little bit infantile to me, but it was this. I was talking about the fact that I was online looking at computers because I wanted and needed a far more powerful model than the one I had. And I was also thinking about switching to using an iPhone after years of using Android phones. And just 5 days later, I was gifted a brand new laptop, and it was the laptop that I was looking at. And I was also given on the same day by the same person a brand new iPhone. I hadn't said anything to anyone. Certainly hadn't told the person, but it was part of what would make me happy. And so I had to receive those things in the shortest time and with zero effort, because in the state, the context supports my happiness. So the things that are around me physically and so on are just there to confirm that I am happy, right? So when I called my husband to tell him, I said, honey, I'm so happy. Such and such has just happened. So this morning, it's Sunday today, I received a phone call about something I've been thinking a lot about and actually stressing a bit about. And I actually spoke to my younger sister about it yesterday. And then in that conversation, I said to her, you know, and I'm just going to focus on being happy. So this morning, I received a phone call about this issue. And the lady who called me this morning outside of office hours had no idea that her words were confirming my happiness to me. What she was saying to me, not just resolving, but just giving me everything I wanted and then some, was part and parcel of this context, this physical context that confirms to me that I am happy. And so because of this, I don't try to manifest things. right? And the reason I don't is because that would require me to resolve the nuance that I don't believe that I have those things. And I don't always have the capacity for that. And whenever I don't have the capacity to resolve that nuance, I don't get what I want, what I'm actually trying to single out and manifest. So I don't try to manifest. I can't always give space to what other people I come into contact with are going through. But if I show up as happy, they are then enveloped in my happiness, and they can only relate to me in that context. If I am happy, the things that make me happy have to appear. Good health makes me happy. Financial abundance makes me happy. Being productive makes me happy. Personal development makes me happy. Success makes me happy. And all that being said, the state of happiness, though, is one that we actually have to give a bit of thought to. This psychological framework, this psychology of happiness, requires that you, as a human being, are in total submission to the aims of the dimensionally greater aspect. That's being in submission to Christ, the pattern man, and that you're willing to hand over your life story to one that is far superior to your human aspect in all respects, and that you're also able to resign yourself to being a willing participant in the role in which you have been cast. Now, there is obviously more to that, but in a nutshell, that's what it is. That's what's required of you in order to fully assimilate the state of happiness. It seems odd to suggest that you would have to actively choose happiness, but it's actually more easily said than done. If it was as easy as all that, I believe that we would all choose it all the time. And this really happens if you know yourself to be self-reliant, to be self-determining or self-sufficient in an exclusively human way. And if you're someone who takes pride in your triumphs over particular traumas and things like that, it's actually quite tricky to assimilate the state of happiness. So these are the sorts of things you'd need to start to consider if you are saying, you know what, I choose the state of, or the psychological framework of happiness. I choose the psychology of happy. These are the kinds of things you're going to have to think about, because for many people who have gone through tremendous difficulties and come out the other side, there is a strong sense of their own self-belief, their own identity tied up in that. You would actually have to be willing to relinquish all of that and recognize that, unfortunately or fortunately, however you look at it, that doesn't matter. So how do you begin this process of thinking happy? Well, you have to become illogical in the sense that you must learn to be feeling-led in everything you do, and not in a insipid sort of way, but in a meaningful and deliberative way. So it's tricky at first, especially when you're dealing with stressors or if you're a very logical person. But if you get into the habit of doing it, you'll find that you don't even notice that you're doing it. And what I mean by being feeling led, one of the things that you can do as a person is, before you take a particular action, just check in. You can even ask, should I do this? And notice what your feelings tell you about whether you should do something or not. Or is this relationship worth it for me? So imagine you're socially distanced across a restaurant with a friend or whatever, and they're telling you what they're telling you. Check in and ask. We let too many things go as human beings. Sometimes people are not good for us, but you have to be almost ruthless in your approach to assimilating the psychology of happy. Okay. And it's really worth it. As I say, the more you do it, you'll get used to it, and eventually you won't even notice that you're doing it. And the one you are asking to transmit this feeling communication to you is your dimensionally greater self, which is the emanation of God itself that you came into the world as. This emanation of God, will change your life, taking you to higher and higher levels, exposing you to greater and greater things. The process has already begun in me, and so I'm inviting you, if you feel so inclined, to choose the psychology of happy and to embrace its instantaneous effects. So of course you know that I am a contemporary metaphysician, And so all of this is foundational esoteric language transliterated into contemporary speak so that it makes sense to us. It's relevant to us, and it resonates rather with us in this day and age. So to make things clear, as I was saying about this use of language, I try not to use terms like states of consciousness. And instead, I use terms like mental framework or psychology or psychological outlook. And because that's exactly what a state of consciousness is on the human side. I've said it already. I'm just reading right now from some notes that I jotted down. I wanted to get that across to you because we're instructed to render to Caesar that which is Caesar's. And part of that is that we operate using the modes of communication that mean something to us as human beings. Everything on the spiritual side, on the dimensionally greater side, is taken care of. If we transliterate metaphysical language into terminology that makes human sense, we will get more out of it. And doing this does not a thing to diminish the spirit of what is being said. And so if you want to adapt and then adjust to a psychology of happiness, I recommend that you start by asking your dimensionally greater self to transmit happiness to you. Sometimes people tell me that they don't know what happiness is or what it feels like, but rest assured, your dimensionally greater self does. Don't be resistant. It's incredible what we do to ourselves at times. We tell ourselves that we don't deserve happiness, or we ask, why should we be happy while others are suffering? My response is invariably this: we all have the same internal resource. We all have the capacity, the capability to be happy and to shape a world in conference with that. And so your happiness will inspire others, and having achieved it yourself, you can tell others how to do the same. You will radiate it wherever you go, and others will be the beneficiaries of your radiance. And so to close this presentation, I want you to give significant consideration to this, to whether you are willing to let go of the reins of your human life and to hand them over to your dimensionally greater self. The reason this is necessary is because esoterically, happiness is inextricably linked to non-judgment. And as a human being, you are incapable of non-judgment. The only aspect of you that is capable of non-judgment and therefore capable of true happiness is your dimensionally greater self. And so for you to assimilate and to be the beneficiary of the effects of the psychology of happiness, you must hand over control to your dimensionally greater self. Now, this is not going to impede your ability to function in the world. It is going to significantly, immeasurably, immensely enhance it. It's going to make you a superior version of yourself. So, if as you are about to go to sleep, you ask your dimensionally greater self to transmit happiness to you, remember, be relaxed and all of that, your eyes closed, just simply ask. It will do it. If you ask in sincerity, and by sincerity I mean I am asking, not in a cynical way, I am actually asking, transmit happiness to me as I sleep. And then when you wake up, ask the same question as part of the integration exercise. And I haven't gone through it in this upload because I've already done a video of that. So I'm going to link that video in the description box. Please do watch that integration exercise video again. And then what you're going to add to the statements is transmit happiness to me. So that's all for this upload. You can contact me via my website if you'd like to. Feel free to look around the website as well. I'll be making new posts and updates about what I'm doing and so forth in the coming weeks. You can ask questions using the contact form. Please do follow the instructions there. I don't get back to everyone because it's not possible for me to do so. So please do check the instructions above the contact form. That's all really. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you've enjoyed this upload. I hope you will choose the psychology of happiness. Until next time, stay phenomenally you.